Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the best party build to beat Simon in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So I'll also be showing you how to beat him, the best team composition. You don't have to be level 90 here to beat him, but it's recommended to get as high as possible. And for each of these characters I use around 200 to 300 different Lumina points on each. I also have a video on how to get maximum Lumina really easily. But first things first, I'll start with Monoco because he's kind of the wild character here that we want to use because he can break Simon really easily. This is recommended that you get his relationship maxed out here because the breakpoint ability he gets deals extreme single target damage one hit and it fills the break bar and breaks it. So you can break Simon. Removing the turns he does is extremely useful. Also, Mighty Strike's really nice. You can do a bunch of damage if the target's stunned, and it'll also put you in Almighty Mask, which is your most powerful mask. So as for Monoco, I would recommend having the Joyaro weapon here. So this starts you off in the Almighty. It also scales on defense and agility. This just ends up being one of his best weapons. So we'll be starting off with that. And the most important skill to have here would be the Sakapatat Fire. So this is going to deal extreme fire damage and applies 3 burn and does increase damage in your Almighty stance. Also the Chapelier Slash, which will apply Mark. Avec Spear here, which can apply Powerless, which will mean you take less damage. This one, the Benessier Mortar, which is doing puts you into the Almighty Mask if the target is marked. And then also Chevalier Ice and Rosher Hammering. But the big one is Sakapatat Fire. Monoco's big thing is doing the break. That's really what we're going to be using him for. So all the Luminas, I won't go full in detail on his because he's not really meant to do that. But anything that's going to increase your overall gradient charge rate. So things like the charging mark that's going to apply increased gradient charge on hitting a marked target. I also like to have the cheater Picto. This is extremely useful on pretty much everyone, so I'd recommend having that. Clair's Life's also nice too because it works well with the cheater, which will give you your full health back, so that can be nice. I'd recommend having the burning shot, marking shots, and energy master so you get your energy back, and anything like the energizing turn, which will end up giving you 2 action points per turn. Stay marked to increase the amount of mark that you apply, and anything really support related. He's best utilized as support. So is Verso. Really, the first team that we want to use is going to be Verso, Monoco, and Lune. And then the backup team is going to be Sciel and Maelle. There's a reason for that, because Sciel can actually double up our damage. Now, Verso, again, all about support. I like to have the Dualiso weapon. You can also use Corntorso if you wanted to, or Corpasso. Your choice on this sword that he's going to be using. I would recommend building him around health, even though, you know, most times you're going to get one-shotted. So I have the Energizing Parry, which will give you the +1 action point on a successful parry with 6,000 extra health. Sniper for increased critical hit rate, and Clair's Life as well for the extra health. So maximizing his health as much as possible. And for his, again, it's all about getting anything that's going to give extra action points, but also any of the gradient charge. We want to max a gradient charge as much as possible, so everyone should have all of these here. So plus 20% gradient on hitting a marked target. He hits marked targets every single turn, so this is an essential one. Target weakness, if you hit a weak target. Clair's Life, again, super useful. We can also double that up with our Dualiso weapon to heal yourself every single turn. And with his higher health, he can survive a lot of these attacks that others won't. Everyone should have Painted Power. Everyone should have increased gradient charge on breaking a target as well. So anything, again, that marks... Anything that marks and gives you benefits to gradients is going to be very essential. Stay marked also is really good to keep the marks on the target. And rewarding mark also, everyone should have something like that. So you can go with all these Pictos here, focusing mostly on health. As for Lune, we want to have the Trebuchet weapon. I find this, or Trebuchet, these are really useful because they give you a stain on a free aim shot. Why this is useful? We want to do the slot roulette to get our Elemental Genesis. This is our most damaging skill. Deals extreme target damage or to all damage enemies, 8 hits, and it can only be cast with a yellow, green, red, and blue one. Elemental Trick will actually give you all of these if your critical hit rate is 100%, and that's what you can see there. Her crit rate is 100, so you can adjust her stats accordingly to make sure that she has 100% crit rate alongside the Pictos in her stats. So those two are big ones. I also like to have Typhoon because you can build around her adding powerful and all the extra buffs if you heal a target, and this will heal you for 3 to 5 turns. So you can start with this. It's not really about healing you because healing doesn't really mean much in the Simon fight. It's more so for applying buffs. Lightning Dance is also nice, but I really just went with Elemental Trick, Elemental Genesis, and Mayhem if you're able to break the target. So that worked well. I also went with the Rush on Powerful, Breaking Death, and Energy Master Pictos for her. Again, we're trying to get her critical rate up as high as possible to the 100% without really going over it. And for her Pictos, I recommend, again, anything that's going to give you increased gradient charges on your attacks. I also like to have ones that applied like anything on heal. So if you healed a character, it gave them Powerful for 1 turn because Typhoon can apply Powerful every single turn. Shell for every single teammate, and then also the applying rush on your targets. Anything that's related to marking targets is essential here. And also, again, like the gradient charge on a critical hit. She hits critical hits 100% of the time. So this is going to be good for building up your gradient charges. Once per turn, you get 20% charge. And applying burning and marked with her. So that's our front line. That's going to be these three. Big damage from Sakapatat Fire. Verso just does Verso things, doing his free aim shots and his attacks. And Lune Elemental Genesis. Into the big all-stars here, Sciel is going to be super important because of her skill here. She's got a few that are really useful. So the Fortune's Fury here, target ally deals double damage for 1 turn. With the Cheater Picto, you can start with this, do it on Maelle, she'll double her damage, and then use Intervention. Target ally plays immediately and gains 4 action points. This also means that the Cheater Picto will proc on Maelle too, so you use Fortune Fury, double her damage, Intervention. I would also like to start off with like a marking attack, so having mark on free aim shots for Sciel works well because you can apply mark for the enemy and then hit them with hit Maelle with the Fortune's Fury and Intervention. Now for her, it's all about getting her agility up as high as possible, so anything that's going to increase your speed works very well for her because she wants to go first, and a little bit of health too because she's kind of our tank of the backup to Maelle and her. And again, all the Luminas that give you gradient charges on hitting weaknesses, anything that gives you a gradient charge in general, critical hits, Cheater Picto as well, Clay's Life, all of the ones that you see here, marking shots, you need to apply mark and get Maelle going. Maelle's big move here is Stendhal. Obviously, that's going to be the one-shot attack. We want to use that as much as possible, especially if we get boosted up with the Fortune's Fury and then get to go next. Also, if we can't hit that, Pierce and Momentum Strike are good. In Virtuose stance on a marked target, it deals a bunch of extra damage. Not the most powerful, but it's still good. Gustav's Homage, really good skill too. But I would also recommend adding in another one, Last Chance. This is 1 action point, reduces self-health to 1, but refills action points. Now, you may think going to 1 health is not a good idea, but there's a reason that we want to get to 1 health. You don't have to use this though, because he can actually put you to 1 health as well himself. And Flaret Fury can break. We want this too, because for our pick Luminous, she's going to be the most important. I would recommend bumping up as many Luminas as possible into Maelle. And at Death's Door, because when he reduces you to 1 health, 50% increase in your damage. If you're going to do a 10 million damage Stendhal, this now becomes 15 million. So yeah, it hits harder. And also any of the damage boosting Pictos are great. I also like, you can go with the Confident Fighter. 30% increased damage cannot be healed. That's a big damage boost. We can also use that if you prefer, but you just have to be a lot quicker in how quickly you take them out and get all your dodges perfectly. So anything that's going to give you action points is going to be nice. Anything that increases like 50% increased break damage or gradient attacks is huge on Maelle because her gradient attacks, Gommage, and the other one that puts you in Virtuose stance are very powerful. So those all work very well together. And yeah, that's really what you're going to want to put together for this team to be able to take down Simon. I do have a video on how to beat Simon and the combat strategies that you'd be using, but using all of these at Death's Door, you can set up Maelle to do her 1-shot. It's not really going to be a 1-shot because his second phase, he has 50 million health. That's a lot of health to remove. So with this combination, starting with Lune, Verso, and Monoco, doing Monoco things by breaking the target, Lune is going to be your main damage dealer, which is kind of funny. She was my healer for the most of the game, but Elemental Genesis is very powerful. And Verso with his skills like Phantom Stars, Strike Storm, Marking Shot, Perfect Break, Endbringer being a big one because if you're in the A stance, you can actually keep him stunned, so that removes another turn of his. So yeah, all these things put together should help you beat Simon. And again, I'll link in the comments and in the description how to beat Simon. So if you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.